Ken. Now you listen up. Alright, we gotta make this car. Alright, we got hired. Ford Motor Company wants us to make this car. Alright, they want you to do it. Now I'm gonna try to get them to let you drive for them, but I can't guarantee it. Alright? Practically everybody in this movie who's American speaks with that kind of exaggerated American accent, and something about it is just so fun to imitate. Welcome back everybody to another episode of Home Media Reviews. This review is on Ford v Ferrari. The movie that tells the story of the, quote, legendary rivalry between the Ford Motor Company and Ferrari. A rivalry I didn't know existed. I didn't know Ford and Ferrari had a rivalry. I mean, I didn't grow up in the 60s, so I didn't know that. Nowadays, I see Ford's rivals as more of Chevrolet or Honda or Toyota, especially since all those companies, excluding Chevy, make better vehicles than Ford does. Ooh, shots fired already, and the review is barely even started. Let's go ahead and jump right into the history section of Ford v Ferrari. So Ford v Ferrari was released in theaters in the United States on November 15th, 2019. I unfortunately did not get the chance to see this movie in the theater. To be honest, I don't really remember why. I had just started dating Hope around this time. She had no interest in seeing this movie, and we wanted to see movies together as much as we could back then, so I didn't get to see it with her. This was around the time of Thanksgiving and all that, so work was getting hectic. I just missed it in theaters, unfortunately, and I would have loved to have seen this on the big screen. Sadly, I haven't got the chance to yet. Hopefully it gets re-released maybe one day. That would be fun. I did pick this movie up a couple of months after it released on physical media. I picked up the standard 4K version, which I think I detailed in a vlog a long time ago when this movie came out. Speaking of that standard 4K, that, along with the standard Blu-ray and the standard DVD, were released on February 11th, 2020. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to look back to 2020 for a release of a movie. But hey, this was February. This was a couple of weeks before the lockdowns and the masks and the social distancing and all the fun parts of the pandemic that happened last year. That was great. First time I saw it, I absolutely fell in love with this movie, with pretty much every aspect of it. And that's of course what led me to talk about it here on the show. So far, this was the only time Ford v Ferrari has been released, but there were some exclusive versions since this was released by the House of Mouse itself. There were two retailer exclusive 4K and Blu-ray combo packs that you could pick up. There was a Target exclusive 4K Blu-ray set that came with a digibook of artwork and behind the scenes information. I said earlier I picked up the standard 4K. I never even looked for this version because I honestly didn't know it existed. And I don't know how many people actually bought it because I haven't seen any pop up on the secondary market as of late. There probably have been. I haven't looked in a while. And for Best Buy, well, you already know what this one is. It was a Best Buy exclusive steelbook with some pretty cool artwork on it. I don't know which artwork is better, though. The standard artwork, which is kind of lame, and then the steelbook artwork, which is pretty okay, too. This movie didn't really have great, memorable artwork, though. It was kind of bland. It was like you have the car, and then Matt Damon and Christian Bale. That's kind of all you had for these. And that's it for Ford v Ferrari. There have been no recent releases of this movie on physical media, which sucks because this movie has kind of almost been forgotten by the general public. But that's why this show exists. It's to shine light on underrated movies. I guarantee a good number of people had never heard of Real Steel up until we covered it last week. But I think some of you may have heard of Ford v Ferrari. I think I got some Oscar buzz back when it came out. So that wraps up the history section. Let's move right along to the close-up. Alrighty everyone, here's your close-up look at Ford v Ferrari, the 4K Ultimate Collector's Set. That's neither Ultimate nor a Collector's Set, so that's cool. 4K Ultra HD up there at the top. 4K plus Blu-ray plus digital code. I don't know why my camera's not focusing. That would be nice. Based on the incredible true story. Matt Damon, Christian Bale, Ford v Ferrari, and there's Matt Damon and Christian Bale right there on the front, getting out of the sports car from the film. 4 times sharper than HD. Movie only, see back for details. They have to put that there because the bonus content's not in 4K, but you do have an hour of extras, so that's cool. And then down at the bottom you got a little weird sliver thing about watch anywhere, movies anywhere, all that dumb stuff that nobody really cares about. Ultra HD Blu-ray up at the top, the film's logo, 20th Century Fox down at the bottom. The back has a little advert for Movies Anywhere, digital code included, one of the year's best films. I agree. Blurb about the movie, snapshot of the vehicle, once again, pop out little thing for the barcode to peek through, screenshots from the movie, explanation for how to watch 4K stuff because you are stupid and do not know how to do that, according to Disney, who released this movie. It's not actually Fox, it's Disney. Rating and cast and crew information, text specs, all that good stuff down at the bottom. Take the slipcover off. Same artwork, same spine, pretty much the same back, except you have to make room for the cast and crew information and then getting rid of the screenshots. Open this up. Our Blu-ray is pretty stock standard for a Fox/Disney release nowadays. And your 4K actually has some artwork on it. It's, once again, the car from the movie. Simplistic artwork, but I like it. So that is your close-up. Let's move right along to the menu tour. Alrighty everyone, here we are for a menu tour of Ford v Ferrari. We're starting off with the standard Blu-ray disc. It's kind of crazy. You wouldn't think this was a menu when you first pop this disc into the player because this doesn't look like a menu. You've got the black bars on the top and the bottom, like it's a 16:9 film image, and then your options just pop up here on the screen. It looks fairly unique, actually. But of course you got your clips from the film playing in the background. You've got your options on the bottom: play, setup, search, and extras. For setup and audio, we have a 7.1 English mix, a English 2.0 mix, English descriptive, audio 5.1 mix, Spanish 5.1 mix, and a French 5.1 mix. Unfortunately, the French gets screwed out of a better audio track, as we saw last week with Real Steel. Subtitles, we have English, Spanish, and French. Search is just your scene selection, as well as if you want to add a bookmark or something. For scene selection, no titles for our scenes, but we do have this little helpful taskbar down here at the bottom, and a dot noting where you are in the film. And we have 40 scenes in this movie, which is a 2.5 hour long film, so I guess that makes sense to have that many scenes. 39 if you don't count the credits. And for your extras, we have Bringing the Rivalry to Life, theatrical trailers. Oh, I was just reading the back of the case. I thought Bringing the Rivalry to Life was like a 3-minute featurette type thing, but no, this is an 8-part documentary that's on this disc, so that's actually pretty substantial. Alright, here we are. We're back for the 4K menu tour, and you would be forgiven if you didn't notice a difference, because the menus are pretty much exactly the same. Obviously, this one's in 4K, as opposed to the other one being in 1080p, and this one has removed a option for us. We only have play, setup, and search, as opposed to on the Blu-ray. No bonus features are on the 4K disc. For setup and audio, we have a Dolby Atmos mix, which, sounds amazing. We have that English 2.0 mix, that English 5.1 mix, Spanish 5.1, and French 5.1, so the only new audio track is your Dolby Atmos track. And subtitles, that I don't think anything will be different there, English, Spanish, and French. We've got Japanese, Chinese, I don't know what that is, also Japanese or Chinese. So yeah, we have some more subtitles, so that's cool. Your scenes, I don't think will be any different. If we scroll down to the end here, nope, same number of scenes as on the Blu-ray. So the only difference is the fact that your bonus content is on the Blu-ray disc, which I don't think is smart by any means. You heard me complain back on the Infinity War HMR that I hate that the bonus content is relegated just to the Blu-ray, especially with Disney slash Fox home media releases nowadays. But that wraps things up here for the menu tour. Let's head on back and answer the 5 main questions as always. Alright, so we're back from the close-up. Now it's time to answer the 5 main questions as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? You know, I was just in a Best Buy a couple of days ago, and I found this movie on both 4K and Blu-ray still lingering on store shelves, so surprising. I guess if you check your local Best Buy, it might be there. Although if your Best Buy is anything like mine, they are paring down their physical media section. I remember when Best Buy had rows and rows of Blu-rays, DVDs, television shows, movies. I mean, it was amazing how much physical media Best Buy had. My Best Buy is down to 2 shelves of physical media. That's it. I hate that stores are moving more towards paring down their physical media sections. Even my Walmart, God bless them, finally pared down their physical media section. I thought Walmart was going to be the outlier. They were going to have like 2 or 3 rows of physical media. No, it's down to 1. It's really upsetting. It hurts me. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? Absolutely not. It's been over a year since this movie was released on physical media, and I haven't seen any new stock out on store shelves. Number 3, should you pick this product up? There are a multitude of reasons why I love Ford v Ferrari so much. I'm going to try to give you a comprehensive list of the things that I love about this movie, alright? Starting off with the performances. Matt Damon and Christian Bale are fantastic in this movie. From what I've read about the actual Ken Miles, Christian Bale pretty much embodies this character tenfold. I mean, he's amazing as this cocky British douchebag who thinks he's just amazing at everything. He kind of has a right to think that, too. He won several races at this point in time. And then Matt Damon as Carroll Shelby is really good as well. I love how throughout the movie Carroll Shelby is seen driving the AC Cobra. That's the car that Carroll Shelby in real life basically built from scratch, so that's a really awesome detail there. And there's just this human element to Matt Damon that contradicts with this godlike presence that Christian Bale has of himself. Shelby sees himself as just a normal car manufacturer who's really done nothing special other than win Le Mans. The only American, I think the film says, to ever win at Le Mans in France, while Christian Bale is like, yeah, I'm the best, mate. I'm the best over here. I can fix your car up. Listen up, mate. Brakes are shot. The whole front end is not right, okay? It feels like it's trying to take off. You've got to be able to stay on the ground. I apologize to all of my British viewers out there for offending you all with my terrible British accent at almost 1:30 in the morning. So, please don't try to cancel me for that, okay? I've been canceled for much less, but please don't come after me for that. Those two just work off of each other so well. I love watching them just communicate with one another and how they solve the problem of getting the Ford GT40 to be as fast as any Ferrari that's in the Le Mans race. John Bernthal is also really good as this Ford marketing executive. I think that's who he's supposed to be. The guy who plays Henry Ford II mentions that he's in the marketing department, so I think he's a marketing executive. Maybe he's just an executive in general. But John Bernthal is really good in this role as this executive type character. He's not too sleazy towards the beginning, but as the film progresses, he becomes more and more slimy as he sides more with the Ford Motor Company than with Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles. A brief detail I'd like to mention before we move on here. There's a scene where Carroll Shelby is called up to Henry Ford II's office, and the guy who plays Henry Ford, credit to his performance there, because he gives off this sleazebag performance of just, you are dirt beneath my feet. I won't even look at you as you explain to me why I shouldn't fire you right now. I'm being serious. He won't even look at Shelby as he's explaining why they need more time with this car. It really reminds me a lot of how big shot corporate CEOs think they're more important than literally anybody below them, when really they're not. Without the workers and without those willing to take the risk to fund your operation, you would have nothing, Henry Ford II, and especially without your father and especially without your grandfather, you'd have nothing. On the totem pole, you are nothing compared to literally anybody else. You're just a man. I don't know, I kind of thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's how it really played out. I don't know if that was a choice of the actor to do that, but it was a really nice inclusion, and it showed just how sleazebag a lot of these corporate CEOs, especially nowadays, are. So props to you, guy who played Henry Ford II. You gave a really good performance as a really bad person. Our villain, I guess, if you could call him that, he's more of an antagonist, is Enzo Ferrari, the CEO of the Ferrari company, who is trying to win Le Mans once again. I think they say in the film Ferrari has won the last 4 years at Le Mans, and the only time Ford has ever put in a car to race in Le Mans, they've lost terribly. So Ferrari is billed as the antagonist of this movie, but honestly, they're no worse than Ford. Both of these companies are really bad with how they treat their employees. Presumably with Ferrari, we only get to see it from the Ford perspective, but the way these executives act towards these employees of Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles, they're really bad. And not great with relationships or keeping relationships with their employees. And I can only assume the same can be said with the Ferrari team, because Enzo Ferrari doesn't seem like the most personal man either. So as an antagonist, they work, but really this movie doesn't have a traditional antagonist. The antagonist is really the amount of time that it takes to build this car and to get it over the finish line, much less win. And the way that James Mangold is able to edit these montages where these characters are building this car, it just makes it so interesting to me. Now, I'm already kind of a car person. I'm not like huge into the whole yeah, I know everything about cars. I've worked on my own car with my dad for many years now, and I've learned a fair amount from him, and I find this stuff interesting. It kind of makes me think of building computers, like they're literally just the same thing. I like the part when Matt Damon says a part is a part. You can change them out and you can fix things with them and all that kind of stuff. So that just made me relate to my own profession of, hey, I want to be able to build computers one day. So being able to work on cars, pretty much the same thing, except they're two different fields. You just have to know how to work with your hands and know what part goes where. So I wouldn't say I'm a car nut, but I knew several of the phrases that are said in this movie about, replacing the brakes or replacing the shocks or making sure the front end doesn't fly up when you hit 7,000 RPMs. There's something about the way that Mangold edits this movie that makes those montages seem way more special and way more grandiose than they probably are. I mean, he makes watching a car be built interesting. They did this in Days of Thunder as well, but that montage was more cheese. This one is more, hey, this is serious business here, and you all should care about it, and he makes me care about it. And the race scenes in this movie, oh my gosh, the camera work is beautiful. Everything is captured in full frame. You are never confused about where any car is. You're never confused about anything that's happening. You know what's happening, not through dialogue, but through the visual language of seeing these cars race each other on this track. It looks amazing. I think most of this stuff as well was shot in camera. Like, not a lot of CGI was used for these cars. At least I think. Don't quote me on that. I haven't done a lot of research for behind the scenes stuff. But if this was CGI, oh, it was damn impressive CGI, because these things looked 100% real. For every race, not even just the climax at Le Mans. The races that Ken Miles takes part in earlier on in the movie look great as well. Every race in this movie is captivating. That final lap at Le Mans when Ken slows down and lets the other Fords cross the finish line with him. I mean, that gave me chills down my spine while I was watching it. It's filmed so well. This movie is also largely historically accurate. It's not like American Made or The King's Speech where they had to change some stuff for the movie. I'm sure they changed some things, like I'm sure some lines were different and such, but as far as events go and how they played out, this movie is largely historically accurate from what I've read about it. And I give the movie major points for that. Major props and points for that. I'll say this though, the timeline is a little bit hard to follow in this movie. I know that at the end, the 1966 Le Mans race is where the movie ends. How long does it take to actually build the race car? I know Carroll Shelby says earlier it's going to take them 90 days, but it felt like to me they went over that 90 days. I don't know, I just never got a sense of how long it took to actually build the race car and how long it took to actually get to France and all that. I just never got a sense of how many years passed while this movie was on. But that's a very minor nitpick. I can roll with it. It wasn't something that I thought about while I was watching. It's just something that popped in my head after the movie was over. Above everything else that I just said, the reason that I really love Ford v Ferrari so much is the fact that this is a true American dream story. Carroll Shelby, American, wanted to build something great. He built the AC Cobra, great car, more than likely, never actually driven one in my life, but it seems like a great car from the fact of how popular that it was. He wanted to build something great. Ken Miles, while not being American, he is British, but he lives in America, so I'm going to count him as sort of an American citizen. Those two teamed up together to take down a foreign power that did not deserve its unbridled success. These are American citizens that are out there reverse engineering car parts, making the fastest car possible, being able to beat those foreign powers. It's the American dream full on. It is, if you work hard and you do everything in your power to make something great, you will achieve success one day. And Ford v Ferrari shows that dream come to fruition. This just proves to me even more that the American dream isn't dead. It's alive and it's thriving, baby. Or else James Mangold wouldn't have written that theme into this movie. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's here. So great lead performances. Great in-camera effects. Great races that make your heart pound while you're watching them. Great camera angles. This movie looks amazing. It looks amazing in 4K. I mean, you can see the detail on every single car part that's shown on screen. It is awesome. I mean, aside from the timeline problems, I can't think of anything else about this movie that I didn't like, and I absolutely recommend that you watch Ford v Ferrari. It's on HBO Max right now, so if you have that streaming service, you got no excuse. Check it out. It's a great movie. And this is coming from somebody who thinks Ford hasn't built a good car in probably 20 years. Or at least not one that's worth a damn. So when you hear me recommending a movie about Ford where Ford is the winner, that's got to say something about the film's quality. Look, if you want to buy a quality vehicle nowadays, I know people are going to ask me about this in the comments, buy Toyota or buy Honda. Toyota will literally last you probably 30 years. Honda, around the same time frame. Those cars, if you take care of them, perform routine maintenance, and don't let small problems build up into big ones, they will last you for as long as you want them to. My family has a Toyota minivan that is 20 years old and still kicking. That thing is a couple of years younger than me. And it's going to my brother and he's going to drive it. I mean, it's still in almost perfect condition. Anyway, moving on from the whole what car you should buy fiasco. Don't buy a Pontiac, by the way. Don't be like me. My Pontiac was a gift, so I couldn't exactly not be grateful for it, and I love my Pontiac to death, but whew, Chevy, y'all have got to work on your quality control, man. At least Ford can say they don't make the worst cars on the market nowadays. No, that honor goes to Chevy. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? You find it in a store that'd be a really cool story, so pick it up there. I think it's only about 14 bucks last time I looked at it at Best Buy, so get it there. Especially get the 4K version. That picture quality looks immaculate. And number 5, what price should you pay? Well, for the standard Blu-ray, I'd say about 10 bucks, and for the 4K version, I'd say about 15. Steelbook and the Target version, I don't have enough research or market knowledge to actually tell you how much those are worth. I'd say both of those are probably holding steady at around $30 a piece. Actually, Steelbook might be upwards of $40. Some Steelbooks have absurd value nowadays. That Logan Steelbook that I saw at Walmart that I really should have picked up for $15, that thing goes for $50 now on the secondary market. Why I didn't pick that up, I don't know. So that wraps up this home media review on Ford v Ferrari. I said last week that this is every dad's favorite movie, and it kind of is. I mean, it has that dad vibe with a bunch of old grown men in sunglasses and baseball hats standing around in the hot sun watching some cars drive by. I mean, that sounds like a perfectly fun afternoon to me. Fellow dads out there, join me in praising Ford v Ferrari. And tell Hope that it's a great movie and she should watch it. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of on a racing kick right now, so why don't we continue that trend and pick up a franchise that we've left behind? We covered one of these movies in Season 1 of Home Media Reviews, and then we covered one in the miniseries last year. Now we reach the end of this trilogy. We are covering Cars 3 next week, because there's no way I was getting out of Home Media Review Season 3 without reviewing Cars 3, because I already did Cars 1 and 2. It's a good thing, too, because Cars 3, fantastic movie, and we're going to talk about it next week. I hope you guys will join me then. Thank you all so very much for watching. Good night, everybody.